Camera number 96 of 365, and it's the Canon EOS 500N. The camera requires batteries to operate, so let's go ahead and put some batteries into the camera. And you'll notice it's two CR123 batteries, and on the lid of the battery compartment it tells us the orientation. Just a note to user: the little latch that closes the door can sometimes get broken, so exercise caution when placing batteries in and out. It can be quite fragile, and then you'll have to resort to some black tape or tape. So turning to the left-hand dial first of all, running through the various creative modes and more traditional modes. So we're at lock, which turns the camera off. If we move it to program mode, we can shift the program or the aperture and shutter that the camera chooses by simply rotating the dial, so that's a little bit of creative freedom there. And then moving on, we can go to shutter priority, aperture priority, manual. We have a depth, or a depth of as it's called, and basically when you look through the viewfinder you have 3 focus points which the camera has, and by aligning those 3 focus points with our subject in looking through the viewfinder, the camera will make sure that everything between those 3 points is in focus. So that could be useful on certain situations. Going back to the dial, we have then ISO. We can change our ISO manually, although it does include DX coding, and then finally a mid-roll rewind, which when it's put onto that particular setting, by pressing the self-timer button, the film will be rewound back into the cartridge. Moving back over the other side of the dial, we have portrait mode, we have landscape mode, macro, sports mode, and nighttime portraiture. So let's just put it back to program mode. Going to the other side of the camera now, it's dominated by the liquid crystal display there, which tells us pretty much everything. Looking through the viewfinder, you do get aperture and shutter speed, as well as a green illuminated light when everything's in focus, along with a flash light if it needs to be done, which of course it does have a built-in flash. Looking at these 3 buttons, the top one allows us to, when it's pressed, choose, in conjunction with the command dial, choose our focus point from all 3 or choose one of them, which is a very helpful feature. And then the second button is function, which takes us to the right hand side of the screen. We can cycle through red eye, not to have it on or to have it on, and it's represented by 0 or 1, on, off. And then press it again, we have beeper, and then we have continuous mode, a continuous release, and then finally we have, let's just to the last one, we have multiple pictures can be taken, multiple images. Okay, I mentioned I think the self-timer button, and then going to the back of the camera. We just have 2 buttons here. We have exposure compensation with the right button, and then on the left button it performs a number of functions. We can have partial focusing, we can have it as an AE lock, or an autofocus lock. So a number of functions there. Okay, I think that's pretty much it as far as that goes. So let's just look at the front of the camera. Our lens is released by pressing the button and rotating the EOS lens, and then we just simply have a light assist for the focus, and then a flash button on the right hand side. To open the camera door, we lift the door, keep pushing it down, lift the door, and then just simply drop our cartridge in and stretch it over, and then the camera does wind on the film to the first exposure. So let's just put the lens back on. And that's it, really, as far as the Canon EOS 500 goes, 500N. That's been camera number 96 of 365.